It's deep in the Buddhist teachings from the Buddha himself that emotions are fine if we would just let them be. Again, it's so he might not have put a time limit on it, but the point is that they move through like an energy system. I mean, we've all had the experience of losing the thought. The thought comes through and then poof, it's gone, right? So actually emotions can behave much the same way. They just kind of come in and out. What's a good example is when we're really upset about something and then we resolve it and later we can't even remember what we were upset about. That's how ethereal these energies are. It's when we feed the emotion. I think we all can relate to this. We're afraid and we keep adding more reasons to be afraid, more storylines, evidence for the prosecution why we should be afraid. And certainly now the media will feed it as well, and we'll latch on to that. Or even others close to us who are fearful, then we get that contagion and we become fearful. And then it can seem like it's lasting indefinitely. Then it becomes like an anxiety that we're just carrying around. First of all, there's wise fear, right? There's fear that's innate, that if there really is a danger and it's immediate, it's a good thing to have this rush of adrenaline and rush of fear so that we protect ourselves. The really immediate would be something like, an attack coming in. Right now we have this kind of semi-immediate, right? There's a lot we have to pay attention to and prepare around, and a lot of guidelines that have been given. And as we're going about that, setting up our lockdown to accommodate enough food for X number of days or supplies and this and that, and checking in on others in ways that we can be helpful. That's a whole nother preoccupation that we've all taken on. And there's, maybe some wise adrenaline in that, right? Quickly go buy this, go find this. And it's hard to know when the wise starts moving into the stressful thinking. When we start making up more stories that aren't grounded in reality. And again, right now it's hard to tell what's what because of because there's so much unknowns in this. But when we start feeding the emotion with what the Buddha called the second arrow, more suffering than is warranted. There's a confusion we're feeling, there's the worry, it is really natural. So to normalize that. And that's a loving, compassionate response we're having to ourselves. That's a wonderful form of self-love, that we're protecting ourselves, we're protecting our loved ones. We are one of our loved ones. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually good, and good to see that we're precious to ourselves. But when it becomes obsessive, right, and we're actually causing ourselves more suffering with the second arrow of over worrying, over concern, fantasizing outcomes that may never happen, whatever it is, that's the part that we might want to bring a kind of deeper awareness to. And worked into that awareness is the same compassion. It's, of course we're going to worry. Of course that's going to happen. And it's actually really okay. And the beautiful paradox of a practice like self-compassion, which is worked into mindfulness practice, just bringing a kind, self-compassionate attitude. And you can see I'm touching my heart because I often do that. And it's often instructed in self-compassion work. It's okay, sweetheart. This is a hard time. You're going to go past wise fear into neurotic fear. It's just going to happen. You're going to worry. But can we just be with that? Is it okay to just, give yourself compassion. It's normal. It's natural. Breathe. It's going to be okay, sweetheart. Just like that, really. There's a wonderful acronym called RAIN, R-A-I-N. My favorite teacher for this is Tara Brach. So we recognize what's here. We allow it by being compassionate towards it. And then we actually feel it. And the eye or brain is investigate or become intimate with it. So this is making my chest feel heavy, or my eyes are burning, crying, or my head's all over the place. I have all this pressure in my head. Whatever it is that the body is storing as a result of the anxiety and the fear, just feeling it viscerally, like in the body, actually helps it be accepted and start releasing, and also sometimes can give rise to more clarity. Because what we're usually doing is pushing against it. And so it gets stored in the body, just stays there. It's this like hum of anxiety and worry and we can't sleep and all of that. But if we actually stop and feel it, that's a form of compassion. I'm just going to feel this. Wow, what this feels like. Okay. You don't have to make up a story about it. Just notice it with some interest. And then we nurture it. Okay, again, sweetheart, it's okay. And something happens once we've gone through that process and we can just let go back to life. People often notice just going through a simple exercise like that, even if it's only for 2 minutes, we're lighter. And it makes sense we'd be lighter. It's akin to giving a little toddler a hug after he fell down, It's akin to being a listening ear to a friend. You've just done it for yourself. This is what you're feeling. It's okay that you're feeling this way. This is what it feels like. I love you. Now I'm going to just go on with my day. There are many, many resources out there. And approaching mindfulness, if we just recognize that we might have an attitude that we're not going to be good at it, and just see that as something we can question, because it's very hard to screw it up. It's actually, there's less doing in mindfulness and much more undoing, not doing, and undoing. It's as simple as just sitting and being with yourself. Now, that may be a scary concept to some because they might feel, oh, if I just sit and be with myself, I'm going to just be looking at this crazy mind going off or this anxious body. And to a degree, that's true, but we're bringing skills that allow us to see that along with whatever's going on in the mind and body that are not comfortable, there are spaces of calm. There's the breath. There's the natural awareness that is curious, that's hearing sounds, it's feeling the touch of the clothing or the air. There are techniques or tools that are woven into mindfulness instruction that start to show us that, oh, I actually can just be here. And there's no requirement to stop thinking. And if there were, we'd all fail. So there's more of full acceptance of the thinking mind and skills for how to observe the thinking mind, how to be compassionate towards it, just very similar to what I was just going over around fearful thoughts. So the instructions really take care of it. So what I would suggest is just getting good mindfulness instruction. And there are many, many sources. And right now, especially, there's a ton of stuff happening online. We, through For the Biome, are offering a free meditation every Wednesday that I'll be leading at 11:30 Eastern. And people can just sign up by giving us their email on the homepage. And there are many teachers doing similar things. Again, Tara Brach would be another really great one to look up. And then there's Dan Harris, a person from ABC News who has become really wonderfully obsessed with mindfulness and meditation and features many excellent teachers through his app called 10% Happier, as well as a podcast that he does. So that's a great app. The Insight Timer is another one, really good app with good teachers leading. So that's a good start. And we'll be happy to answer more questions if people want to send them to us.